Okay, I got my first course of outside bricks installed. I am going to put another course on top, so 2 high. Once I get those in and they're sufficiently set, I will put my half dome barrel on there and continue up the barrel. I'm gonna do my peel test. Just checking to make sure that the peel doesn't get stuck on any edges, and it seems to be pretty good. I'm happy with it. The herringbone pattern helps when it comes to the paddle and it getting caught on stuff. The 45-degree angles help it to push aside instead of sticking, so it approaches all the cracks at an angle. Something like that. That's what I'm told. So that's what I'm gonna believe. Seems to work. Oh geez, I almost forgot to videotape. Anyways, I'll videotape now. So I started, I laid my base yesterday, and now I'm starting the process of making the dome. There you have it. Just staggering the bricks, making sure that they're as tight up close to the curve as I can get them, and wedging them so they don't sink down. And that's it. Hopefully I'll get this one more course done today and start up again tomorrow, and hopefully get to the top tomorrow. We'll see. Okay guys, this has been sitting overnight. It's pretty firm. Firm enough to continue setting on top of. Hey, just a side note, if you're using wedges, wood wedges, make sure you pull them out while the mortar is still relatively soft and hard enough to hold the brick up, but soft enough to pull this out. Otherwise you're gonna have a hell of a time getting these out. So this is where we're at. I'm gonna continue running courses of brick and till we get to the top, and then we'll figure it out from there. Well, I think I've got maybe 6 more rows to do. 1, 2, 3, 6, and then the keystone row. That's coming along slowly but surely. It's a lot of bricks. I hope these 600-pound casters will hold. It's a lot more than 600 pounds there. But times 4, 2,400 pounds. Hopefully I don't go over that. I think it's gonna be close, maybe a little over, we'll see. But we like to push things, right? Right. Worst comes to worst, if the casters fail, I can just unbolt them and set that base right on the ground. Well, got a few more rows to do, like two more rows, actually maybe 1 more row, and then the keystone. And it's just slow going because I got to get up on a ladder every time I got to set a brick, and you can't just slop these on like you would a brick wall. You got to try and make sure you got the least amount of space between your board and your other bricks, because the inside's just got to be brick butted up to each other. Try and get away from having mortar in between them, because of the expansion and contraction. Eventually that mortar will break out onto your food. So that's it. Hopefully tomorrow I should be done with the dome part, and I can start working on well, I'm gonna have to let it dry before I remove this frame here, and I can't do anything until the frame's gone. As for building the front arch, I might just do a rectangular arch, not an arch, but just a rectangle. And I gotta do the chimney, and I got this 6 inch, I believe it is, 8 inch chimney pipe to start with. I might do doubles on that. But there it is. That's not taking. No, it's not taking. Alright, new morning. I got my final course run, which was this one here. Well, second to final. This is my final one, generally called the Keystone. It's holds everything together, but the brick's not wide enough to cover the gap, and I'm trying to keep the gaps as small as possible inside the oven. So what I'm doing is cutting bricks down to 3 inches wide and taking up the gap. And so I have as little a gap as possible on the oven side. And then I'm going to take a grout bag, kind of like a piping bag for pastries and cakes, but fill this full of the mortar, and I'm going to pipe it in there a little bit wet. That way it flows in all the cracks and locks everything together.
That they may have caused mortality because it may be too early in the course. And I understand that, and a lot of people really want to, and you will get what the case fatality rate is. Unfortunately, we can't do that in the middle of it. And as we'll talk about very shortly, the incubation may not be as long as we think.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have the whole arch built. What I did here is I applied a skim coat of the fire mortar all over to lock everything together, and I then gave it a brushed finish. Hopefully the little grooves in the brush finishing will help hold the fire blanket on a little better. But that's where we're at. Now it's just a matter of time, because it must dry, because we don't want to break anything. So we're going to wait for it to cure. That could take up to 28 days. But 28 days is probably like a complete maximum cure time, but I'm sure within a week I can move it around safely and not be worried. So that's what happens when you're careless. That was a $14 chimney clay tube. I was figuring out how I want to do my opening, and I set it up there and it fell over. Smashed on the ground. Okay, that's a $14 mistake. Won't happen again. The tools I used are this big drill here. It was handed down to me by my father-in-law. You can buy these mixing ends at Home Depot or Lowe's, etc. That's what I use to mix the mortar, and what I use to cut the fire brick. Where'd it go? I don't see it. I got it around here somewhere. Oh, right here is this little 4-inch diamond blade that I got at Harbor Freight Tools for like $6, and it's a Harbor Freight grinder that you can get for about $15 at Harbor Freight. This little grinder, I have about 4 of them. This one's lasted me forever, as well as the other ones. And if they break, throw them away and go buy another. But this is all I use to cut my brick with, and I cut it dry. I didn't have a wet saw. Well, I have a wet saw, but it's right here, and the brick won't fit underneath. So I had to use my hand cutter. Hey guys, I don't know if I went over the ingredients for fire mortar. It's basically brick mortar, but for use on high temperature applications like fireplaces and ovens, etc. Basically, the mix is 1 part of this Portland cement, 3 parts sand, silica sand. I'm using the number 30 silica sand. So 1 part, 3 parts sand, 1 part lime. It's you can get it at it's a type S lime, and 1 part fire clay. So 1 part fire clay, 1 part lime, 1 part Portland cement, 3 parts silica sand. That's your mix for your mortar, for your refractory mortar.